And for the worst too.
Hangouts was so comfortable, and then we actually switched. I used Hangouts. I used to use Hangouts a lot, at least. And we actually switched to Zoom.
Oh yeah.
Use Zoom.
I've used it at other companies. Yeah.
We were getting so fed up with like some of the updates and stuff.
Forget it. Right. Full screen. Okay, this is recording now. It's already recording on. So basically, we don't have to worry about anything. This just sits here.
Okay,
This
so
is recording it.
people are going to be connecting, and I don't have to do anything.
You don't have to do anything. This is just running by itself, and then I'll be back right after because I got to run down to my other meeting. But it's already recording, so it should be great.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll be back, guys. Yep.
So how long have you been here?
For 3 years now. Yeah. But I send out an email just reminding all the employees. Like, if you want something to drink or snack on,
I'm great.
you're
Great.
good?
I got to me this thing.
Okay, cool.
That's
Cool. Maggie! Hi! How's it going? Yeah, so we're gonna have a Google Hangout and there's also a YouTube Live link, which means like people can access this at a later time.
Okay.
So you guys are gonna sit back here, and then you're gonna be speaking into
God.
that camera, and then
Camera.
everyone else will.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And you're Maggie?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm Mike.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You guys are both instructors at.
Yeah.
So,
What?
it's weird, but I work at Market.
Okay.
Sometimes at Union.
Okay.
On Tuesdays. Definitely see me around.
Okay. So you look familiar, but I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So, wait, this is like a little bit intimidating now. I don't know.
Because we have other offices that are connecting from like Chicago, LA, New York.
So it's very casual, right?
Yeah, it's super casual. Yeah. So, you know, just project your voice kind of on the louder side. And then, you know, just remember that you guys have an audience over here.
It's just going up on Good Morning
Yeah, exactly.
Helps blur out a bunch of weird stuff. So why?
Oh, I should also.
So do a little Insta.
Yeah, did you have anything Okay, let me.
Gina showed me into video.
Okay.
That's where I was reading.
Oh, I showed you our kitchen. Let me just send this email to you.
This is fun. I love notes here. Notes from like my past consulting.
Okay. So you coach and also do nutrition?
Yeah, so I teach classes, I do like nutrition. Yoga.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What city do you
Hmm?
It's a great city.
Love it. Yeah, it's still like some days I wish I just had it. You know what I'm doing? Yeah.
It's a way to say
In
it.
terms of minutes, yeah.
I feel like
It's like the couple that is a little
absolutely.
Oh my god, I'm so
Hi, Gabby. Can you hear us?
At the end, let's take a group picture. So I can use that as an Insta post.
Hell yeah.
I've been trying really hard
Do it for the
to
gram.
be good on social media lately. It's like, tough.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Hi. Gabby, I'm
Thank
going
you
to
for
hip chat
coming.
you.
Oh my god, you're so tiny. You lost so much weight.
I know I have lost a bit
Yeah.
of weight lately.
Yeah, vegan.
Yeah.
Really?
She turned vegan.
I'm vegan.
Should I sit in
These
here?
are for you.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I'm not
you.
stoked about giving you whey protein, but nobody else is going to eat it.
Yeah.
So those are yours.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool, that-
Yeah.
Ooh, red velvet cake.
Yeah, that's their newest flavor,
Yo.
and nobody at the office wanted it. So
Give
they
That's
send us
so
so
fun.
many bars. The
it
that
to the
brand.
fat boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really
I'm-
good brand.
Me and red velvet cake have a great relationship.
Oh, do
Yeah.
I'm going to take a quick little hot sugar life
Photo.
photo. Maybe like a.
That's
So-
cool. Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
That is going to be
You
the
have to keep that open.
okay.
That's
Cool.
the
That's what power
normal one.
As long as we don't have to use my own laptop.
I lost access to the little slide sheet.
I saw that you requested that, but then I gave you permission. Try it again.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, there it is.
Can I buy you guys in the front so we can
Yeah.
sugar logo in the front?
And then you'll see
Oh, there it is.
mine too.
I don't know, you guys can flex or eat snacks.
Oh, we should just eat.
Yeah, it's
Just like, oh, I'm sipping.
Are you vegan too?
I'm vegan.
I have tendencies.
Good.
I've tried. I'll do like a Snapchat swap.
Or just send it to me. We'll do a morning at the same morning.
I'll move it.
Yeah, just okay, cool. Same thing. Yes. Yeah, let's get a regular photo. Yeah, let's do another. So yeah, something can be around you. Too much. All right. It's all over the gram. Okay.
I should have had my red velvet protein.
Oh, I
bar.
know. No, but wait. I can't have that on
I know
my
you
gram.
guys. You guys can't have red.
I can't have that on my gram.
Nope. Can't
How
have that
long
on
have you
your
been vegan?
gram.
Have you been vegan forever?
Like 3 years.
Okay.
But I mean, when I went to Mexico, I did have warm salt, so that's not vegan. But hey,
Warm salt?
It's salt made from worm.
Oh, got
Yeah, it was so good.
Interesting.
Was it?
Yeah, because I went to. Do you guys watch Chef Table? Chef's
I
Table?
haven't. I keep
Okay.
meaning to.
So
I know
I
Chef's
just started
Table.
watching it coming back from Mexico because everyone, when I posted a story, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, that restaurant's on Chef's Table," and I was like, "Really?" It's
Where
called
in
Pool
Mexico?
Hall in Mexico City.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I hear amazing things about Mexico City.
It's so great. It's just like the smog and like that's the bad part. But
But
everything
it's-
else is beautiful.
Yeah, and they say, well, everything in Mexico is cheap, but they say
Yeah,
it's
so cheap. And then I went to Todos Santos, which is like a little beach town, an hour and a half drive from Cabo, and it's just magical. Like nobody's there, nobody knows about it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So directions like if you see a supermarket with a big sign, make a left, and then find a tree that's in the middle of the road, make a U-turn, and then
Oh, I
find
love
a
it.
purple gate. That's your Airbnb house. And we're like, okay,
maybe an address.
sure.
Is there a treasure map too?
I know.
Like,
Seriously, I have like Blair
there's
Witch
gold
Project
buried by the
status.
stake.
It was
Let me
amazing.
tag you guys on Insta. Oh shit.
If you dig up the final stake, you'll find 10 gold pieces.
Right?
That's funny.
Maggie, what's your name?
Maggie J S H.
Mikey, MIKEY dot OLZ 12.
How long have you been vegan?
First time I went vegan was actually in 2011,
Okay.
I was vegan
So
for
you
a
went, like,
year.
way before I did.
but then I wasn't vegan for a couple of years, and then I
Uh-huh.
went really strict again last year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you
about a
think
year
you're
ago.
gonna? Is this like a life thing?
I think it's a total life thing,
Yeah.
and it's easy now because my husband's super vegan too.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So we're like
together.
the vegan couple.
Oh, good.
We're
A
insane.
vegan couple.
Yeah, you guys should have a channel.
I know.
There's actually a YouTube channel, the Vegan Couple or Vegan Chef or
There's-
whatever it is.
There's a handle on Instagram that we have now,
Mhm.
Two Busy Vegans,
Okay.
and we were thinking about doing something with that. Hi,
That's cool.
but it just depends on people,
Yeah.
actually.
It's so easy. It's
Yeah.
actually so
It's
easy.
so easy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's especially easy today because everywhere
Yeah.
has vegan options.
Even in Mexico. Kind of. Actually, I lied. Not in that little small like beach town, but I was able to just like live off of guacamole and tortillas.
Oh, they have
And
the
it
best.
was
That would not be a
amazing.
bad life.
I did have like a little bit of the ceviche.
Hi, Sophie.
Um,
We're gonna get
because they're like
started in just a
fast
few
and it's like
minutes.
right by the shore.
Oh,
They
yeah.
literally
So
go
fresh.
and like farm or like get
Catch
the
it.
fish, catch it,
Mhm.
and then they bring it in.
Yeah,
They can
Oh,
like
that's
watch them like go out and like fish it and then come back. It's so incredible.
that's amazing.
That would have to be one of my favorite dishes on the planet.
Ceviche.
Yeah.
When I was in South America
That's-
for a while, I had ceviche in Lima, Peru, and that was the best ceviche I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Peruvian ceviche, I think, is the best.
Lamar, have you been to Lamar in San Francisco?
Jeez.
You
No.
can't go anymore because you're vegan.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I wasn't,
So this awesome
that
place.
was- yeah, when
that
I
you
first
can't
moved
go.
to San Francisco, that was my favorite restaurant.
Really?
Lamar.
Lamar.
Peruvian ceviche,
God, I
fish,
love
like
And that's like the only Peruvian food that's good because everything else is just rice and beans and all
yeah. I love rice and beans though.
Yeah.
I love
I get
beans.
sick.
I just get very
seriously.
gassy.
Yeah, that's
TMI.
why. I just like avoid beans.
Yeah,
And it's
but
like
I love it.
it's major bloating too.
Yeah. I think you just have to train your body a little bit at a time.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh,
that's
yeah,
the
your body gets
problem
used to it.
because when I
Yeah.
eat chickpeas, I'll have like a huge bowl of chana masala
Uh-huh.
and just like a bucket load of chickpeas, and then I'm like suffering the next day from it.
So chickpeas don't do that to me, but pinto and black beans.
black beans do it so bad. To
Yeah.
me. But chickpeas do it to me.
Chickpeas are fine. So yeah,
Chickpeas are
everyone's
okay
just
for
different.
you?
Yeah.
It's so
Hi there.
weird. Hi.
How's it
I'll
going?
make like chicken and
Huh?
avocado.
Good,
hummus.
good.
Ooh.
So like guacamole hummus.
That sounds
Oh my
really
God, it's
good.
the best.
That sounds so yummy.
Okay, now we're
Let's
just
go around the table. Like, okay,
Yeah,
no,
what do we want to
Oh, yeah.
eat?
Cabbage
You
and the
want me to say
chickpeas.
when we're all ready? Go. Yeah, I just sent an email
Oh,
to
you did?
the US. So
Okay,
I
great.
think people are slowly working their way down here. So we can get started in 3 minutes. at 12.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll actually take these way bars out of the picture.
Yeah, take it
Yeah.
out.
We can prompt
Throw
these
those
up
out.
though. 'Cause these look
Get those out of here.
vegan.
They look healthy.
So nice to have just stuff sent to you guys all the time. You guys get to try everything first
Hello.
and share it out with the world.
Yeah, I have a whole box of protein bars I'll give you from Vega.
Oh, do you like Vega?
That's enough about you.
Man, I like that. So
Okay.
it tastes a bit sweeter to me than normal,
Uh-huh.
but I like that. Have you tried them?
I've tried not their protein bars, but I've tried their plant protein.
Oh yeah,
The vanilla and chai one's pretty nasty.
I never had the vanilla.
But Garden of Life is probably the best brand that I can
I like
find.
Garden of Life. I like their
Yeah.
chocolate, but not the vanilla.
Yeah.
The vanilla one tastes a bit too.
Yeah. I can't find you guys on Foursquare. Weird.
Oh, really?
Are you guys?
Try one more. Did you do one more?
Maybe it was my Instagram.
Like, can't eat anything. I like step on like chips first before I can swallow. Like, it's like good one day and then next day.
I love that we're all on our laptops.
I know.
This is so funny.
We'll put them down as soon as it starts.
Yeah.
We're
No.
attentive people.
Yes.
It's so funny.
I believe you.
Every single person in San Francisco, like at
Yeah.
least one or two.
Oh yeah,
Always.
it's wild. Like I was sitting, and when it was raining out too yesterday. What was it? Sunday or Monday? And I walked into the gym, and there's just people waiting for the class
Uh-huh.
on the bench, and it was the entire row was just like this,
Really?
getting
Oh
ready, and
my
then all of a sudden
God.
they jump on the bike and then start ripping it. But
No warm up or anything.
just like
This is
15
they were, like,
people,
on the
all
bikes,
15
on
out of
their
15.
phones?
Yeah, no,
Wow.
on the bench in front of the bike
Waiting to
studio,
get on.
waiting for them to open the
Is this
door.
Union Street? Union?
No, it was Pine Street.
Oh, okay.
It was Pine Street. You know where that like in the
Like the bench,
cafe? Yeah.
Mhm.
It was. I mean, not
I'm
one
like-
person was up like this. It was 15 for 15 if there were 15 people.
Oh my god.
I was like, come on, like stand up. At least stand up.
I really probably don't need to take my phone with me to the bathroom.
That's so bad.
It's the worst at like airports.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
and
totally.
you gotta take it out and then
Mhm.
like put it in a separate bin.
Yeah.
And then people have like 4 bins at a time
With all their things.
with everything.
Alright, I think we can get started, guys.
Okay.
Thanks everyone who's connecting from a different office or remote. We have a few special guests today. So we've got Gina Florio, who's part of our editorial team on the fitness side. She's based here in SF. And then we have Mike and Maggie from Equinox Gym.
Hi.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to hip chat the luncheon room, where you guys can just send me a chat and I can spread the word.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming. We made a deck, but I was just telling Kat earlier, we are more than happy to go off script and talk about anything you guys want to talk about. So if you have any specific questions about, I mean, you can get really specific too. These are like real experts here. So if you have questions about your own training program or diet, we just really want this to be a useful time for you guys. So did we not end up using the deck on here, Kat? No. Okay, that's fine. All right, so what we have a little outline of what we're going to cover today. So the first few things, we're going to talk about how to create and execute your own personal fitness plan, whatever your own goals are, and how to make the most time at your gym, how to make the most of your time at the gym. And then my 2 favorite things we're going to talk about, we are going to bust the most common fitness myths, and we're going to bust the most common nutritional myths. Mike and I have a lot of fitness myths that we want to bust together.
Oh, it's the most fun thing in the world.
We are like the myth busters when it comes
Oh,
to
man.
fitness. And
I just love
then
it.
we'll wrap up with talking about the importance of rest, mindfulness, and self-care, which I think is sort of the lost element of health and wellness. And then anything and everything that you want to talk about at the end. So if you have any questions, please just chime in the middle. Don't feel like you have to wait until we're done with the presentation. Okay, so if you are just starting out for the first time, if you've never worked out before, or you feel like you're a bit of a rookie when it comes to working out, the very first thing to think about is what your goals are. And Mike, you can probably speak a little bit to that.
Oh, it's my favorite. Well, first of all, thanks to Pop Sugar for having Maggie and myself and Gina for always be an epic at the gym. She puts in a lot of work. Hope you guys know
You can
that.
tell from her Instagram.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Really
And
early morning.
I see it real time. It's actually happens.
Yeah.
It's even more than just for the gram. But one of the things that I think is super important when talking about goals is separating them. And I think one of the most common things that we're run into is people kind of look at goals the wrong way, I think. And so the two pathways of goal setting are, number one, a process goal, and then the other pathway, the other side would be an outcome goal. And from my experiences over the last few years, I think that most general fitness enthusiasts all set outcome goals. So what's an example of an outcome goal? I want to lose 15 pounds. I want to look like Wonder Woman. I want to run a 4-minute mile. Like, these are all things that are great, and they're great to have in kind of the North Star, or like the oversight of everything you want to do. But it's something that if you're always looking at the outcome of what you're doing, it can lead to emotional distress. It can lead to failure. Like, maybe if you don't lose 15, who's to say if you lose 10, you won't feel better? So I like to start with most people by setting process goals. So what's a process goal? Like, I want to check in at the gym 24 times this month, or like, I want to learn a new skill. I want to learn how to squat. I want to complete a half marathon like Gina's decided to do. So I think first and foremost, being realistic and looking at what is a process that will lead to the outcome that you want to have, right? And so if you can kind of differentiate those two things, it's a great place to start, because your outcome can be great. You can get that, the feeling, the look, or the athleticism that you want to have, but how do you get there is more so like, that's the process.
Yeah, and I also think it's really helpful to think about fitness in 3 pillars. There's flexibility, there's strength, and there's endurance. A lot of people think that endurance is the most important. So the very first thing you do when you get to the gym is you go on the treadmill, or you go for a run outside, you get on the elliptical, or you try to go to a class where you just sweat as much as possible. But what people don't realize that with whatever your goals are, the most important pillar is your flexibility. And I think that's really, really overlooked, because flexibility is going to be the thing that prevents injury. That's going to be the thing in the long term that's going to keep you really healthy and really happy. It doesn't matter if you can run a 4-minute mile, or if you can do a handstand, or whatever those crazy fitness goals are. If you're not flexible, you're not really well in the long run. And I don't know what you guys think of this, but I think that strength is most important, second most important, and then endurance. But I feel like you might.
The biomotor abilities of the human body would start with, number one, basic stability and mobility. So
right.
Flexibility.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. Like range of motion.
Range of motion.
Totally. Yeah.
Absolutely. Number 2, balance and coordination.
Yeah.
Number 3, strength. Following, you cannot have endurance without strength, because your definition of endurance is the repetition of a strength effort.
Right.
And then power, and then speed. So those are the 5 biomotor skills.
And so when you're thinking about being fit and getting healthy, it helps to structure your workouts, or to even think about them in a sense of like, whether you're going to do strength training, whether you're going to do cardio, whether you're going to do mobility, and how you can fit those together. I don't know if this is helpful for you guys, but if you're just starting out and you don't know what to do at the gym, I always recommend to people, like, clock in 3 strength training workouts a week. I think that's a really good thing to aim for. And then when it comes to cardio, I guess it depends on what your goals are. If your goal is weight loss, if you are actually trying to lose weight, you definitely need to be doing cardio as well. But strength training is really going to be the core of what helps you burn fat, build lean muscle, which increases your metabolism. So, for example, if you work out in the gym in the morning, if you lift weights instead of running on the treadmill, you are going to burn more calories during the rest of the day than you would if you had just gotten on the elliptical machine. And I think that's a really big, talking about myths, that's something that a lot of people don't really realize as well. Because you see a lot of people, they're like, I really want to get a bit slimmer and I want to be able to fit in these jeans, so I'm going to go and do cardio all the time. But that's something that I think is really useful to think about, the strength training and the cardio.
Yeah.
If you doesn't have that.
Also, like, the more muscles you have, like what you were saying, the more fat you're going to burn, the more calories you're going to exert out of your body throughout the day. So again, like strength training in the morning, or just cardio for 40 minutes in the morning, like strength
Yeah.
training would probably be a little better in the long run. Yeah. But cardio is also great. It's good for the heart. So
Yeah, I
and then
always
you want to go in foam roll.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
definitely.
another thing.
I mean, I think that no matter what you're doing, I think the very first thing we should be doing when we get up is stretch. Like stretch as soon as you get out of bed. Like get out of your bed and get on the floor and do a pigeon. You know, get into child's pose, something that releases your lower back, something that opens up your hips. That is like above anything else. I think that's the most useful thing we can do for our bodies. I mean, there are, at Pop Sugar, we've got tons of yoga sequences online that you can follow, but you can even just look up like morning stretches and just pick 5 stretches to do for 10 minutes in the morning and then do a few at night before you go to bed. Do some in the middle of the day. I mean, I sometimes go into that little library here and I'll just do child's pose and I have a meditation cushion that I use to elevate my hips. And it's just a really nice way to decompress, and you will be surprised at how much clearer you can think during the day too when you feel more mobile and when you feel more supple.
I'm sure y'all have heard this by now. Sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah.
And it's getting easier and more prevalent to just do nothing. You don't even have to go walk down the street to get a pizza now. You can just quit.
Right.
So more movement, wake up the muscles, better.
When you're watching TV, get on the floor and stretch.
Mhm.
I do that too. It's not like you need any mobility tools to do that. Just whenever you have a free minute, it's just, move around.
Yeah. Do you guys have
Anything.
walking, standing desks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people ask me this too when it comes to the ratio of sitting at your desk and standing. Sort of like the perfect formula is like 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off. So it kind of goes both ways. If you stand too much at your desk, it can also throw off your lower back. So make sure you're alternating, like sitting and then standing. And they say you should always every hour take like a lap around the office as well, just to move. I really want to get into fitness myths.
I love it. I always like that.
Yeah, and a lot of thank you to whoever dropped in questions in that Excel sheet. It really helped us put together this deck. Okay, so the first fitness myth that I want to talk about, I think this will bust a lot of people's myths. There's this concept that there's a way to get toned and lean muscles rather than bulky muscles. A lot of people ask me all the time on my Instagram, especially I get girls messaging me and they're like, I really want to look lean. I want to look toned. I want to look long and thin. I don't want to look bulky. So what can I do to lift weights to not look bulky? Mike said this to me yesterday when we were texting. He says, that's a funny thought, right? Because there are different kinds of muscles. There's only one kind of muscle and your body only has one kind of muscle. And there is no way to get lean or toned muscles. When people say toned, I don't think they understand that getting toned means that you are ripping the muscle tissue so that it can rebuild and repair and become bigger and stronger. That's what you're doing to your muscles when you're doing strength training. So there is literally no way to look toned versus bulky. And I'm sorry, I'm like monopolizing this, but I'm really, right. This is my thing. And I'm just going to segue into the second myth is that lifting heavy weights makes you look big and bulky and like a meathead. I will use myself as an example. I hip thrust 250 pounds. Mm-hmm. I can squat 200 pounds. I deadlift 1.5 times my body weight. And I promise you, every time I go up in my weights, the heavier I lift, the smaller my legs get. That's just what happens because the more muscle you have, it burns more fat. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of women don't realize that when you look at all these celebrities like J-Lo, Sofia Vergara, they're so curvy and they're beautiful. They lift heavy weights. And it's something that we're not usually told. That's something that like a lot of Hollywood trainers want to keep to themselves. They want to almost like perpetuate this myth that you can do bar and yoga and lengthen the muscles and look really beautiful and graceful. But these women like Jessica Biel, any lean, fit women that you see in Hollywood, they are lifting heavy weights and they're probably doing it for like many, many hours a week.
Yeah. And they work out intensely. They work out with intensity and it's with a purpose.
And that's not to say that we all need to do that, but I do also want to say this, that we see like somebody asked, how do I get Wonder Woman's biceps? She worked out 6 hours a day before that movie. So if you want her biceps, like by all means, work out for 6 hours a day. But it's tough, right? Because we see all these women that we look up to, whether it's fitness influencers or trainers or celebrities, and they look amazing. But the bottom line is you have to put in many, many, many hours of work to get to get that. And you really, really have to be so strict with your diet. Like I'm talking, they don't eat anything processed. Like this would not be in their diet. Like they wouldn't even eat protein bars. So I just want people to understand that. So we're not going for this like unattainable goal, right?
Yeah.
Because if we're constantly trying to look like some celebrity, it's just not going to happen. And we're going to be disappointed with ourselves.
And another
Doesn't add
thing
to
to
that.
add on to that too, I always tell my clients to not aim for someone else's look, aim for your own look. Like, be like, I want to be the healthiest version, the leanest, or whatever it is of yourself. Because everyone is built differently. No one's going to look the same. We're all structured differently, our bone density, everything. So you're not going to look like someone in the magazine. Also because they shape it and cut it out and all that stuff, right? So have
There's that thing called Photoshop, right?
Yeah. You can do it on your phone now.
I know, it's
Yeah.
the scary part.
Mhm.
So yeah, when it comes to lifting heavy weights, it really is going to be the very thing that makes you look longer and leaner. And I hope that answers the question, whoever asked that in there.
Basically, like a muscle is a muscle, and I used to be a trainer in New York City for 7 years, and most common question: how do I get lean, long, toned muscle? So, well, first of all, you have to have muscle, and it has to be active. So vital muscle is the best looking muscle there is. Someone that has very good control over their body, has all the balance, has all the mobility requirements in the shoulder and the hips and in the trunk. It just looks good. And when you're doing that on a regular basis, I think that's the key to achieve your best look. There's no way to differentiate between I'm going to add muscle that's long and lean versus muscle that's puffy and bulky, right? It's a muscle is a muscle. Either you're adding it or you're not. And the way I will bust this myth is hypertrophy is the type of program that is used to legitimately build muscle, like add mass, right? Muscle hypertrophy. And that is a program that was made initially for bodybuilders or collegiate football players, collegiate athletes, which is a very specific combination of strength training and diet. So Maggie could probably fill in the blank on that one too. But you are 100% committed to lifting very heavy, splitting up parts of your body, and then eating a crap load of food so that when those muscles are repairing, they're repairing bigger.
Yeah.
And it is, if you think that's just going to happen to you, you're probably wrong because of how difficult and specific, and that is a full-time job to add mass to your body. It's absolutely crazy how much that takes specifically. So to think just lifting weights is going to make you look that way is, for most people,
also
not true.
For women are especially nervous about heavy weights. And I totally get that because there's a huge stereotype there. But little known fact, women have 17 times less testosterone in their body than men do. And testosterone is the very hormone that makes your muscles get bigger. So it is impossible for women to look big and bulky unless they're taking some intense supplements, which I highly doubt that everyday people at the gym are doing. So, you see all these dudes in the gym with like massive biceps and shoulders and triceps and their pecs are out to here. And I get it. Like, when I first started, I'm like, I do not want to look like that, dude. Like, I'm not into the bro look, but it's impossible for women's bodies to get that way because we have so much less testosterone, which really works in our favor. So you can go in there and lift heavy, and it's not going to put you anywhere in that category.
So, like, what's the right amount of time? Like, we're obviously not going to work out 6 hours a day.
Totally.
I would go with frequency.
Okay.
The best indicator of general fitness is frequency within a month of how many times you work out. So I would rather someone works out 6 times a week, 30 minutes, than 3 times an hour, 15 session. It's just like they were saying before, being metabolic, being vital, getting the blood to flow, getting the muscles to work at their best potential. It doesn't take that long. So it'd be better to just have a routine every day.
Yeah, and I interviewed a trainer, a good friend of mine in LA, and he says for beginners, this is the program he suggests: 4 times a week at the gym, 3 strength training sessions, and 1 cardio session. He says that's a really, really good, like, total beginner plan. And then, of course, the length of time that you're at the gym, it sort of depends on how much time you have. 45 minutes, I think, is plenty of time. And he even breaks it up. He says, so 3 strength training sessions, 1 upper body day, 1 lower body day, and then 1 total body day. And then the 4th day is cardio. I think that's a really good start. And it's really great for people who are busy. Like, if you can't get into the gym every day, I totally understand. Like, I see like Jenny Sugar, I don't know if she's chiming in, but she's a mom of 2 and she somehow makes it to CrossFit every single morning. Like, kudos to her. I don't know how she does it, but I know that there's some people out there who don't have that time. But if you can get to the gym, say Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, and then on a Saturday morning, that's gold.
Yeah.
That's a really, really comprehensive plan. Like, you don't need to spend hours and hours at the gym. The only reason we do is because we're insane. That's what we love to do.
To add to that a little bit, I would say, if you really want to set up your week, and we were talking like how you set up a good week, this will be really quick. But if you pick your goal, like what is your best outcome, and you line up 2 workouts a week that are 100% directed at that goal and that are intense, then you fill in the rest of the week with your supporting workouts. So I think you can, even the professionals can really only handle 2 or 3 workouts a week at the intensity that their body is going to be shaped.
Right.
Right. And then you can work out 14 times, but only 3 are really going to be your best quality. So I call those your key workouts. And then the rest are supporting. It doesn't mean supporting has to be easy. Doesn't mean it has to be brainless, but I would take your goal, say, what are my 2 or 3 key workouts this week? And then what can I do to show up to those workouts at my best?
I think that's a great point. And then if you are going with that 4 sessions a week or even 3 sessions a week, then say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're at the gym. Then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, go for a walk at lunchtime, go to a dance class, do some yoga at home. And those will be your kind of like supplemental workouts.
That'll be what shapes your body, your athleticism, your adaptation.
Yeah.
And also being consistent and doing all of those will help too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's one last myth that a lot of people ask me. I'm sure you guys get this too. Like, how do I get abs? That's a big one. And our readers always want to know how to get abs. So the ab workouts, crunches, sit-ups, planks, side crunches, whatever, thinking that will give you flat abs or even any ab definition we need to stop believing that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some trainers. I know a trainer, she has a 4-pack and she says she has never done an ab exercise in her entire life. You have muscles there. Like we all have a 6-pack under here already. It's just a matter of shedding those last few layers. I mean, like, it's not that's something we all need to do, but so many people ask about it. So I wanted to bring it up. If you really want to get to that ab definition, I mean, it goes back to that really cliche phrase, abs are made in the kitchen. It really is all about your diet and how you eat. And if you're doing a lot of compound lifting, like, movements that work multiple muscles at the same time, squats, deadlifts, hip thrusts, push press, chest press, like a lot of these exercises that are working 3-4 different muscle groups, you're getting the most bang for your buck. And you're also working your core at the same time. Like, you'd be really surprised if you go to the gym and get in the squat rack and do front squats. Like, that's a major ab workout. And I remember talking to Mike a few months ago. I was like, oh, I really work on my core. And he's like, what kind of squats do you do? I said, I do back squats. And he says, well, you better start doing front squats. Because when you have the bar on the back, I mean, your core, you don't really need to engage it. But if you think about all of these compound movements, like with the front, it's here. So you really have to brace with your core. That's how you strengthen your abs and eventually shed away those layers of fat to show the 6-pack you already have.
And does everyone know what the difference between core and like your abs?
That's a great one too.
Yeah. We can talk about that too.
Yeah.
So core, like when you're strengthening your core, it's like supporting your spine, and that's like the middle part. So that's what we're all striving for. But like the abs, it's really just surface, right? It's just like those little muscles. So again, when we're talking about like shedding, you don't really need to do ab workouts because we already have them. And if you can sit up right now, you have core strength.
Okay.
So everyone here has core strength.
Really?
Right? All right, so
Everyone's
we're all
like,
gonna feel like this from now on. Okay? You want to add to that?
I think that's spot on.
Yeah.
I think they absolutely nailed it. I really agree. I mean, I'm the strength person. I'm the one that should be saying like, oh yeah, you can do this exercise, it'll give you abs, but it's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's your core connects the upper body and the lower body. So why not do exercise that requires your upper body and the lower body, and then just stay engaged in the middle, and it'll be strong and healthy. And
Yeah.
also you'll be able to work out longer without any issues,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
huge.
yeah.
So, but I'm on their side.
And
Yeah.
a lot of like lower back pain,
Mhm.
if you just strengthen your core. So another thing, like engaging your core versus sucking in, that's like one thing that a lot of people don't know about. So if you think about like when you're coughing, like that's an engagement of the core, right? If you're sucking in, your ribs are like up to here. So that's sucking in. So if you just, every day, just remind yourself, just pull it in, pull it in. When you're walking, even when you're sitting, when you're talking to someone, just keep, like engaging the core, and then that'll just become a habit. And then there you go. You're strengthening your core every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next slide. I think this was yours, Mike.
Ooh, I like this one.
Yeah, this is you.
I mean, I think this will go stepping back a little bit again, but like I'm more into the idea of fitness and what is the real definition of fitness right now. And the definition of fitness is generally to accept any challenge, adapt, and master the challenge, right? That's fitness, survival of the fittest, right? It's not about if you have the six-pack or toned arms. It's like, what if you're stranded at sea, can you survive? And adapting and challenging. So when I think about fitness in general, it's performance, life performance. And we're all here in a corporate setting with jobs. And I think fitness and performance on a whole is a global theme, and I don't like it when people think that their performance in the gym or their physique is specifically in a bucket in the world. Like, this is my gym program, so this is what's going to help me look good. When in fact, it really is every single element of your life that will work towards that goal. And then on the other side, that goal will help improve every element of your life. And I think that's a really big topic nowadays, that, what is true happiness? What is leading to these things? What is feeling vital? And being your best performance every day comes from the fitness, and fitness comes from your best performance at work. So I like this slide. I just put it in there to talk about things, but
yeah, Mike has,
I'm
he
into
says
that.
Health and fitness will carry over into your work performance and creativity. Will carry over into presence and happiness with your family and your friends. I mean, we may be preaching to the choir at this point, but we can't stress enough how much exercising on a regular basis and taking care of yourself will improve every single aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Really everything.
It
And especially if you have friends that you can share it with, especially if you have a partner that you can share it with, it just enhances everything. I mean, you sleep better, you crave better foods, you're in a better mood. I mean, your relationships will probably even improve.
Sure. And to bring it back, I mean, Wonder Woman, probably, if I could dig into her life, I bet you a lot of those things were going really well for her to show up and look as good as she did.
Exactly.
Right? So in my idea, she was definitely engaged in an epic nutrition plan. Whatever that was, it was great.
It was pretty much all protein and greens, I was reading.
It was amazing. And like, so these things, she adapted to it as they're, even being something like a vegan takes a little time, but you can adapt to it, and then it just breeds more success. So success breeds success. You get some good feelings from quitting drinking from a month, and then all of a sudden you're not drinking for a year. And it's just, I think giving yourself the opportunity to actually feel that benefit is huge. So she was probably sleeping
8-9 hours a night.
8-9 hours a night, absolutely. Probably getting a little tissue work, like staying loose, having someone helping her like that. So when all those things are going well, your body will respond, your brain will respond, your emotions respond, and you just feel happy. And then other people like you because you're happy.
You're happy.
Yeah.
Around
So,
you.
I mean, that's the real goal of anything. Just want other people to like you.
Okay.
Sorry, that's a tangent.
Let's move into the second portion about diet, nutrition.
Cool.
So Maggie,
Yeah.
tell us about eating a well-balanced diet: protein, carbs, fat, all that.
Protein, carbs, fats, vitamins, and minerals. I'm going to turn it over to you guys and let you guys tell me what you guys think a well-balanced diet is. Any takers?
That's a great question.
Yeah. and then we can jump into the myths, because we'll probably get into that, right?
Look at Kat's face. She's like,
Come on, man.
I'm not in it.
All balanced diet. And like right now, since I have braces, it's like I'm just trying to eat soft food. And feel I'm like swallowing it. But like I don't have a terrible diet. I probably don't eat as often. That's for sure.
Mhm.
Like for me personally, like my breakfast consists of like 2 cups of cold brew and almond milk. But probably not. I'm ready to be scolded, guys.
Oh, no, you're just
No. Okay, so basically, well-balanced diet, you want to have, you know, your proteins, your carbs, your fats, vitamins, and minerals. And how you get those are a lot of just like whole, like solid foods that are like grown from the ground, right? Like
Plants.
a little bit.
Plants.
I'm not trying to preach the vegan thing because I'm
Not
vegan.
yet. We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. But so protein, so amino acids, it rebuilds your muscles. So that's a given. Everyone needs protein. Okay, carbs, that is your #1 source of energy. So anything you do, like moving around, you're sitting there and your organs are working, digesting, using carbs, sugar. Also, when you're thinking, when you're talking, utilizing sugar, carbs again. So a lot of people say, you know, I'm gonna go on a no carb diet. They get lethargic, and so that's not the way to go. So that's another myth that we're gonna bust. Fats, you need it for, you know, healthy skin, to transport nutrients in your body. If you don't have enough, you're not absorbing nutrients, and also like the vitamins, minerals that you get from plants. Yeah, so that is a well-balanced diet. And I know you were mentioning how, you know, like I need to eat like multiple times a day. That's, I feel like, what do you think about that? So
Yeah, I think so. This kind of also ties into the question somebody asked about weight loss during intermittent fasting. I think when you eat during the day will always depend on who you are and what your own needs are. Like I know some people who are just not hungry until 11 or 12, and that's totally fine. I interviewed this doctor a lot. She's a board certified cardiologist. She's also a weight loss management specialist, and she never eats breakfast. She said because she's just not hungry enough in the morning. And if your body's not hungry and if you feel like you have a lot of energy, you probably don't really need food. And I think our society vastly overestimates how much food that we need. I mean, if you really think about just coming down to how big portions are at restaurants and at bars, it's like the food they give you it could feed a family. You know, and so I think that if you are really truly tuning in with your body, you're listening, you're like, I'm not really hungry, or I'm starving, like your body will really tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah. I thought you had a question. No. Okay. Okay, where are we now?
Speaking of restaurants, you were talking about eating out.
Yeah, eating out. We can talk
Yeah.
about eating out
Yeah.
too.
How to eat out smart.
So for me, when like a long time ago, when I'm probably the only one out of all my friends eating pretty healthy, I get very self-conscious. I'm always like, oh, can you like put that on the side? Can you cut this in half and everything? And then I kind of just, you know, went with it and be like, hey, this is my body, and if you're gonna make fun of me for it, so what? Then like, be out of my life, right? So like, I feel like one thing that I hear a lot from my clients are usually like, yeah, you know, it's like peer pressure. I want to go out and I want to like enjoy myself, have a drink, and like eat food, and I don't want to be that person. You're not going to be that person, because I feel like if you're in your group of friends, you know, you might get teased a little bit, but like overall, your friends want to be just as healthy, just as happy as you are, and they're going to support you in the long run, right? So for me, like in the long run, I kind of just, you know, went with it. And I don't think, like, for me, eating out isn't a problem anymore. It's just like taking little steps. So what I would do, so usually the portions you get here, especially in America, they're quite big. So I would probably just cut it in half and just be like, hey, can I get a to-go box? Pack that first. So that way it's not tempting on your plate. So, and then just eat the rest of it, okay? And for drinks, soda, stay away from soda. Caffeine, try to stay away from caffeine. I know we all love coffee. I love coffee, but I try to limit myself about 2 to 3 cups a week just for taste.
I thought you were gonna say a day. I'm like Maggie.
yeah, I'm like, this is actually coffee. No, I'm just kidding. I almost got that. Alcohol is a big no-no too. Something to do about that. Also, like, set yourself up for success. Like, okay, I drink probably every single night now, so I'm gonna cut it down to 6 glasses a week, and then slowly cut that to 4 glasses a week. And then plan ahead. So the key to like healthy nutrition is always plan ahead, right? So if you know you're gonna have a social gathering, like a birthday party on Saturday, and you know you're gonna be like drunk, face down. So okay, I'm gonna save my 6 glasses of alcohol that day. If you know you have like networking events throughout the week, then you can be like, okay, then I'll do like 1 drink here, 1 drink there, and then 4 weeks later, cut it down to 4, and then eventually you probably won't even crave that. Because you'll feel so good. Like the next morning hangover doesn't feel good. You know, like it's peer pressure, but like it doesn't feel good. So I'm just gonna cut it out. Another thing is add like bubble waters to your wine. So now you have a spritzer. So instead of 1 full glass, you have half a glass of wine. Babysit it. Or get like a mojito. So there's no alcohol in it. So I feel like I rather people have a little bit more sugary drink than alcohol, because alcohol is so much more harmful than sugar.
Yeah, alcohol is, it puts so much inflammation in the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really big inflammation inducer in the body. So it's not popular, but a lot of people ask me like, what's the cornerstones of your healthy diet? I gave up caffeine 2 years ago, and this is coming from a person who was so addicted to coffee, I can't even tell you.
Yep.
And I was such a coffee snob. But giving up caffeine really, really changed my life, because your body has very vibrant energy sources. Your body wants to create energy all the time. When you rely on caffeine every single day, you're robbing your body the chance to give yourself energy. So if you don't have caffeine, it literally means that your body can't think clearly. It can't move around. It can't be its vibrant self without caffeine once you're addicted to it. And I think that if everyone just tried, cut down obviously, but if everyone just tried to give it up for like a month, I think you'd be surprised at how much better your life would be.
I mean, you're gonna go through withdrawals. I did the same thing. I actually wrote a blog about it. It's on my website of why I quit coffee and 10 reasons. So hold on. I'll just give you a few reasons why coffee is.
And you have to
really
wean yourself
bad for
off,
you.
because I went cold turkey, and I'm telling you guys, I had headaches in my kneecaps for 8 days.
Oh no!
So do not go cold turkey if you're trying to quit caffeine.
Yeah. Okay. So first, it raises your cortisol level, which is a hormone that will hold fat and like create fat. So you probably don't want that.
And it's your stress hormone.
And it affects your sleep, which is very, very important. Okay, when you're sleeping, you're repairing everything. So if you're not sleeping well, you're not repairing, so you're not growing. So if you're trying to make gains in the fitness room, you're not doing it because you're not sleeping. It's disrupting your sleep. Digestion also.
Yeah, it wreaks havoc on your digestive system. I think one of the biggest things I found when I gave up coffee is that it was so much less bloating. I had a lot less stomach aches, much easier going to the bathroom. Like it's very acidic. Coffee is one of the most acidic foods out there, and it can tear up your stomach lining.
Yeah.
Especially if you drink it on an empty stomach.
Right. A lot of people use it.
There's almond milk in
Coffee right there. What was I saying? Oh, a lot of people actually use it to go to the bathroom, right?
Yeah, it's a diuretic.
Yeah, it's a diuretic too.
But what happens if you rely on coffee to get you to go to the bathroom, your intestines will no longer to be able to naturally contract and naturally let you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's the same with laxatives. Any external source that helps you go to the bathroom, you will have trouble naturally pooping.
Yeah.
If you don't take it regularly.
Yeah. And that's such a huge thing too, like pooping. That's like a topic to be talked about.
Yeah, and it's also the best indicator of your diet.
Yeah.
It truly
is. So
is.
80% of Americans right now have an issue going to the bathroom. Like they're not going regularly.
Probably because 80% of Americans are allergic to dairy and they don't know it. That's the thing. Sorry.
We're going into it. So caffeine is a no-go. You can do green tea. It has a little bit of caffeine in it.
Very minimal.
Very minimal. Are you guys all coffee drinkers? Yeah.
Probably. Sorry.
Should we make a pact? Let's do it together. We'll pick one thing at the end of this, and then we'll all do it together. I think it'll be fun. And then let's do some myths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually want to. Now that we mentioned dairy, there
Wanna
is.
do a dairy one?
You know, we grew up thinking that dairy was really good for your bones. It strengthens your bones. It prevents osteoporosis. It's the biggest source of calcium. 85% of human beings on the planet lack the enzyme to naturally break down dairy. So milk, cheese, yogurt, whatever. It's actually, there are many studies proving that dairy causes osteoporosis. There's an immense amount of estrogen in all the dairy that's produced in America, and estrogen is strongly tied to many different cancers. So there's just an overwhelming evidence out there that dairy has a lot of negative effects on the body. And I know we've talked about this a lot. Mike, you pretty much gave up dairy a few months ago.
Yeah.
And I noticed a change even in his body. Like I remember coming to his running class and I'm like, he looks like more cut and a bit slimmer because he had given up the milk and the cheese. And his late night snacks used to be cheese and crackers.
Like a half a block.
Yeah.
It was part of that, and I'm also maybe the 1,000 calories I ate at 10 o'clock every night, maybe, possibly.
But
A little intertwined, but I definitely felt energy a lot more smooth, a lot more consistent.
It's also like the inflammation that
yeah.
your body creates when you have the like dairy.
yeah.
And your hormones too. I mean, you're essentially like drinking another mammal's hormones,
That's
right?
exactly
So it's
what
like
you're doing.
messing up your entire system and chemistry, like your body chemistry.
And speaking of the hormones, a lot of women who give up dairy find a lot of relief with their menstrual health.
Mhm.
You know, if you really struggle with cramps or if you really struggle with, PMS
Same.
before
Yeah.
your period, getting rid of those hormones in your diet can make a really, really big difference. I mean, I noticed it myself.
Mhm.
It might be TMI, but I don't care. I'm spreading the word. Like my menstrual health improved drastically after I gave up dairy.
Yeah.
Like it is not even an issue anymore. And I know a lot of women who have experienced the same thing.
Mhm.
So that's the myth. The myth that dairy is good for you. Oh, and speaking of calcium, it's like the amount of calcium in like half a serving of spinach.
Yeah, it's
is
so
like
much more.
10 times more calcium in the glass of milk.
Mhm.
The amount of calcium in an orange, the amount of calcium in all of these plant-based
plant
foods,
foods.
all plant foods,
Yeah.
it far exceeds the amount of calcium that dairy has.
Mhm.
And I know that we're fed this concept because the dairy industry and animal agriculture in general is
It's
just
like $1 trillion industry. So
Yeah.
they're just trying to make money, and unfortunately, that's their number one thought in their head. So that's why we're getting the bad side of things. Yeah.
So that's one thing I really encourage people just to try to give up dairy and see how it does. Did you give it up before your last race?
Yeah. I've been like probably a half a year.
So I
Nice.
was just gonna say he
What-
recently ran a 50-mile marathon.
Nice.
He's an ultra marathoner.
Wow.
Yeah, and
So
so
how did you do this?
Slowly.
No, like where? Which
Squamish, British Columbia. Yeah, that was hilly. But yeah, I mean, it definitely supports training. And the thing with endurance athletes is the substitutes are so kick ass because your substitutes are what? Coconut milk, which is
And they're so
as good as it.
tasting.
I will never have an issue drinking regular milk again because I love coconut milk so much.
Yeah. They're so
And
big.
The electrolyte composition, like the supporting hydration that comes with it, is just it makes sense
yeah.
to do it. It really does.
Almond milk's good.
I think of that more like water.
Yeah, so
It's like
almond
20
milk
calorie
is just
water.
more water than almond. So you're not getting a lot of the nutrients, but it's still better than dairy. That's why a lot of almond milk you see, it's a little thinner. Coconut milk is a little bit better. Today I just had oat milk.
Oh, I
My
love oat milk.
God, it's
Yeah.
the richest,
Mhm.
creamiest thing. It's
Yeah.
better than cashew milk, actually.
Really think so?
Yeah.
I think cashew milk's the best.
Cashew
milk's
is
so good.
but like
You should
oat
try
milk
that.
is oat milk warm is really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I think if you want to understand almond milk and nut milks, this helped me.
Mhm.
Try to make some
Yeah.
of your own
Yeah.
and see how many it takes to make one cup, and then taste the kind you
Yeah.
buy in the store.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not quite the same, is it?
Yeah.
It's like they might get a little bit of that like omega-3, but
Mhm.
it's mostly just watered down, I think. Because when you get a really good one, and there's some of these restaurants over here that have it, it's like mind blowing. And like, oh my God. But it's also like $8,
Yeah.
I think, for
It's
like a
crazy.
glass.
Yeah.
So
And one thing like soy milk too. So a lot of people are like trying to stay away from soy. That's a myth too. Soy is amazing for you. But just to let you know, like 12 cups of soy milk equals probably like 1/4 cup of soybeans. So if you have 12 cups of soy milk, it's only 1/4 cup of the beans. So it won't give you man boobs. First of all,
That's a huge
so yeah, that's a huge myth. So one thing is it has this thing called phytoestrogens, which is like a very, very, very tiny speck of estrogen. So it doesn't have any effect on your body whatsoever. So they did like a bunch of studies on it, and it shows that it has no effects on testosterone at all. But it also decreased the amount of ester. I think that's a type of estrogen in women, which is amazing because you hear all these stories about like, oh, if you drink soy milk, it's too much estrogen in your body, and then you're gonna get man boobs and hormones out of whack. But it actually lowers it. And if you look at like, you know, the eastern side of the world, that's all they live on.
That's
like
all they
soy.
want. Yeah.
Yeah, like I grew up drinking soy milk. Everything's like made, freshly made.
I grew up
like
eating
tofu
like heaps
and,
of tofu. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just straight out of the packet that we
Mhm.
used to get.
Yeah, and they're like, they have the most healthiest skin, and they live to be longer. They eat plenty of carbs, right? Rice and grains, everything.
Yeah.
They're not obese, but we are, which, you know, says a lot about, you know, the Eastern and the Western
Yeah.
foods.
Just to be mindful of time, I want to go into
We have a quick question.
yeah.
Sarah Siegel in New York. She said, what's your opinion on bulletproof coffee and then putting ghee in your morning coffee?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's been a really popular health trend lately, is that the high fat drinks and even the high fat
Yeah.
diet like keto. Well, paleo is not so high
Paleo.
fat.
I feel like paleo, people make paleo high fat, but
Yeah. I mean, so I will say this. I went through a period, I think in 2015, where I had a bulletproof coffee every single morning for probably like 4 months.
Yeah, tell us.
Oh, yeah. So bulletproof coffee is, regular coffee. You put it in a blender. You put in ghee, which is clarified butter. So essentially you can make it yourself. You put butter on the stove and cook it at a very, very low temperature, and then you skim off all of the milk fat. And then what you have left is just clarified butter. And that's a very popular ingredient in Indian food too. So you put ghee in there, and then another ingredient is coconut oil. And then you mix it all up in the blender. It's really creamy. The purpose of drinking a bulletproof coffee is to essentially fast until 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And so that your body starts to tap into the fat stores and use fat for energy. And it's supposed to make your body burn more fat throughout the day. I personally think that the whole high fat trend, whether it's bulletproof, whether it's keto, is a very dangerous road to go down. I've spoken to a lot of doctors who say that in the short term, you will very likely lose weight if you're doing bulletproof diets, the keto diet, but that's only because any major change that you give to the body, and especially with diets like that, you'll naturally cut calories.
Yeah.
So your body you'll lose weight. But in the long run, your cholesterol is really, really high. It can really wreak havoc on your internal organs and your digestive system. So I hope I'm answering this question. When it comes to if you're going to have a bulletproof coffee like once in a while, that's fine. I don't think that's an issue. But if you're really relying on high fat, like 2 spoonfuls of coconut oil and 2 spoonfuls of ghee in the morning to get you going, if that's what you think you need, I think that's a really dangerous road to go down.
And that can also lead into diabetes too. So a lot of people think sugar is diabetes. It's actually your muscle cells clogged up with fat. That's not, letting your insulin work.
Right.
Your insulin receptors work. And that's why people are getting type 2 diabetes. So it's the high fat diet that's
And
creating
you
that.
know what? I will say this too. And a lot of dietitians tell me that all oils, coconut oil, it's a processed food. There's hardly any nutrition in oils. And that's a really big thing that people forget too, is that you think that you're putting coconut oil into your coffee or your drink or whatever, and you're getting a lot of nutrition out of it, but it's pretty much just empty calories. I know some dietitians who like prescribed never to eat any oil unless you're cooking with a little bit at home.
Yeah.
Because it just has no nutritional value. And it is literally, it's the definition of a processed food. You've stripped one thing from an ingredient and you've left
Yeah.
all the nutrients there, and you're just taking the oil and you're putting it into your drink.
That.
Maybe a good substitute is have a coffee and half an avocado.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
a, that's a whole food.
That's amazing.
I think that's
It's like
definitely.
it's a good healthy fat, complete with nutrients, medium chain triglycerides,
Yeah.
MCT oil,
And
and
it's so good.
and just tastes great.
So creamy.
Avocado
I love
toast, like my
avocado.
new favorite breakfast.
Avocado toast.
It's the best.
You just got into it now. It's been like
I know. All these years,
everywhere for $10.
all these years of my life have been wasted for avocado toast.
Okay, so I want to chat a little bit about veganism. So people ask me, I'm sure people ask you a lot of times too, you know, the vegan diet has become much more popular lately for a lot of reasons, but the reason I like to talk about going vegan is because when I think about health and wellness, I really like to think about it holistically. And I really think it's important for people to understand where our food comes from, where your food is sourced from, the impact that it has on the environment and the communities around us and around the world. I'm just going to I'm swinging out the gate. Animal agriculture is the leading cause of climate change.
Mhm.
That is not a very well-known fact, and it's a fact that a lot of us are very uncomfortable with.
Mhm.
All of animal agriculture on the planet makes up 18% of greenhouse gas emissions. And just to give you a little bit of perspective, every single transportation in the world, all the transportation combined, bus, cars, planes, trains, only makes up 13% of greenhouse gas emissions. One hamburger patty, a single hamburger patty, not even a cheeseburger, it takes 600 gallons of water to make. That's 2 months worth of showers. So we're talking a lot about conserving energy, clean energy. We're talking about water conservation, especially in California. All these ways to save our planet. Like over 90% of the Amazon forest that has been stripped down has been for animal agriculture. We are currently producing enough food, enough meat to feed 11 billion people. How many people do we have on this planet? 7 billion? 7 billion. So I know it sounds preachy, but if you can even consider going part-time vegan, it makes such a huge difference. Now, obviously for your health, there is like an enormous amount of studies and proof out there showing that a plant-based diet improves your fitness, less inflammation in the body, much faster recovery time, your muscles will repair faster, much less risk of disease and heart disease and cancers, more energy, clearer skin. There is just like an endless amount of benefits from going vegan. And there's this movement, you know, VB6, like vegan before 6 o'clock. Even if you just cut out like a couple of days of meat and dairy, or like don't eat meat and dairy before 6 p.m.
Or just like one meal a day.
Just one
start
meal a day.
one meal a day.
Yeah. And, you know, people ask me a lot of questions like, what about just dairy and cheese instead of meat? Like, doesn't that make a big difference as far as the environment goes, or even, you know, ethically? What a lot of people don't realize is that dairy cows are kept alive for double the amount of time that meat cows are. And they're, you know, pumped with all these hormones, and they're forced to produce 10 times the amount of breast milk that that they're naturally meant to. I mean, imagine if you're a mom and if you've ever breastfed before, imagine the pain of going through that. And so it's not just about meat too, like it really is about dairy and cheese as well. So I think that if there's any changes we want to make this year, whether it's for health, whether it's for ethical and environmental reasons, I think we could all do well just to try vegan for a little bit. I know Maggie has been vegan for a few years.
Yeah.
Maybe she can speak to the benefits of that personally as well.
Yeah. So I've been vegan for about 3 years. Once in a while, I'll still have a little bit of, you know, cream and stuff just because, you know, it's there. And then like you want to sample an ice cream, so I do. And there's like no vegan ice cream around when I went to Mexico this past year. So yeah, so health benefits, lots and lots of health benefits. What do you guys want to know about it? Do you have any questions that I can answer? Because you touched on like almost everything. A lot of like environmental issues and, you know, your health, animal cruelty.
Well, you save a lot of money too eating vegan.
You save a lot of money. That's a myth too. A lot of people are like, oh, it's so hard to eat healthy. It's so expensive. It's so cheap. There's what is that fresh produce? Ugly Produce? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Ugly Produce.
Yeah. So super cheap. You get a box and use that box for the week. plan out your meal. I think it's like $30 or something, and cook. You can play around with the different fruits and vegetables that you have. It's almost like a game. Like, hey, what can I make with this, right? You can grill it, you can saute it, anything you want. Lots of different varieties. In terms of like, oh, like I can't eat anything, it's so restrictive. But if you think about it, there are like 6 types of meats that we eat, right? On a normal basis. There's like billions, gazillions of like plants and grains and like beans, legumes that you can eat. So the comparison is just, it's not even a comparison.
Yeah, I interviewed a dietitian recently who said, think about it this way, like eat whatever you want during the day, but go home and cook a plant-based dinner.
Yeah.
Like just do that.
Mhm.
Like that even in and of itself is such a huge difference for your body.
Mhm.
And you're learning so much about what you're eating. Like when you really go into the kitchen and you pull up a recipe and you're like, oh, this goes with this and these combinations, and it becomes a really fun thing to do, and you're becoming much more in touch with the food that you're putting into your body.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great rule. Like eat whatever you want, but then go home and cook plant-based dinner.
Mhm. And one more thing is, a lot of people are like, oh, like the protein thing. So meat only gives you protein, right? But vegetables gives you protein, minerals, vitamins,
Amino acids.
carbs, and everything that you need. So take away the meat. And also a cow gets strong by eating grass, which is plant, right? So take the middleman out, take the cows out, leave them alone. And let's just, bridge the gap and let's just go for the plant.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Take the cows out.
Oh, and then I just want to say really quick, somebody did ask how to gain muscle on a vegan diet.
Right.
You know what? I will ping you. I just wrote a piece a couple months ago about how I gained 7 pounds of muscle on a vegan diet.
Mm-hmm.
It is so easy. I really do think that Western societies overestimate how much protein we need.
Yeah.
If you look a lot of the Eastern cultures, like they eat so much less protein than we do. Like our bodies don't really, you don't need 100 grams of protein a day. You really don't, unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger.
A rule of thumb is like I would say about 0.4 to 0.6 grams of your body weight.
Per pound of body weight.
Per pound of body weight. So like if you're 120 pounds, have like 40 to 50 grams of protein, and that's like well more than enough.
That's definitely
that's
enough.
like way more enough. Like,
and even some experts are like, you need to eat even more. You need to eat double the amount of protein if you're lifting weights a lot. Like I lift weights 6 times a week, and I probably eat 40 to 50 grams of protein a day, and that's how I gained all my muscle. So just to answer that question, you don't need to like drastically change your vegan diet if you're trying to gain muscle. All you need to do is just eat well, and make sure you're having a protein source with every meal. Mm-hmm. But it really doesn't take like that much change. Yeah, and it really doesn't take that much protein to gain muscle.
And eat enough calories.
Oh my God, eat enough calories,
do not cut calories. Eat enough. And especially if you're on a vegan diet or plant-based, honestly, like don't even count calories. I never count calories. I haven't counted in like 2 years. Just eat as much as you want. I would say I tell a lot of my clients to journal, like the first few months. Journal how you feel. So we were talking about it, like garbanzo beans does not make me bloated. It makes her bloated. God. So journal that and be like, okay, I'm gonna take out garbanzo beans. I can't eat that anymore. That's a healthy food, but it doesn't work well with my system. So take that out, find something else.
We're out of time.
All right.
Thank you. Email us if you guys have any questions. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us. Thank you, guys. This is really good. Thank you guys for coming. Everyone's coming here for a meeting, so you guys have to scram.
Boom.
Sorry. Hold on.
Find us, email us. I don't know how. Maybe send an email out to everyone with my contact. Thanks, Gina. Oh my God, so much stuff. It's another meeting.
Yeah, it's a pretty big one for the